most women in their 40s, late 40s, 50s, and 60s kind of wake up one day and realize the version of the life that you have feels very small, right? It feels constricting. And I think a lot of this happens because we're no longer the people we used to be, right? So maybe the job, the career that you built now feels like an obligation. The business that you built, maybe you built a business and it doesn't give you that satisfaction or fulfillment that it used to. It feels like in golden handcuffs and you're not really enjoying it. Maybe the relationships that you're in that used to bring you so much joy and now just feels like they're empty and they're draining. And I think a lot of women, we go through this. I went through this myself. And so today I want to share with you this quiet reinvention. Because sometimes we feel this way, not because something is wrong, right? Because everything could look right outside. Your life can look like it's perfect, like everything is going on. But inside you have this very quiet discontent, like a dissatisfaction. And you're probably afraid to say something about it because it feels like you're being ungrateful. Because maybe you have a wonderful life or what looks like a wonderful life, but inside there is no fulfillment, there is no joy. And you just feel like maybe this time it's time for something else. Something else is pulling you and you don't know really what it is. But there's this quiet discontent, this dissatisfaction in your life. And you can't put a finger to it. And a lot of people look at you and might think you're okay, but inside you're really not. So I think this happens a lot to women in their 40s as they're approaching 50 a lot, and even in their 50s and 60s. Is that because the first half of our lives, right, in your 20s, you're building a life. Let me take a sip. You are building a family, you're building a career, you are working very hard, you're going after all of your ambitions, the goals that you have, and you build a home. A lot of times in our late 20s and our 30s, we're building a home, we're building families, we have businesses, we have careers. There is so much going on that you have built a reputation for yourself as someone who takes care of people, who takes care of everything. And this is very common. We tend to do this as women. And then you just realize in your 40s, and for me, I think this kind of hits after I turned 45. I'm almost 50 now, but after I turned 45, I started feeling like this version of my life was not really the life that I wanted. I had built a business. But I just realized this is not the version of life that I wanted. And I started to have these questions and I felt this dissatisfaction and I couldn't explain it, right? Because the version of myself that I was living felt like it was somebody else's expectation. Either it's your family, your husband, your friends, your whatever, some expectation that's out there that is no longer fulfilling. It's no longer feels like you. And you find yourself in that place. And it's a very difficult, challenging space. And not to say, sometimes we go through life and they are difficult situations. I'm aware that there are a lot of difficult situations that women go through, and I've gone through some of those. So the change could be coming because you actually do need to change things in your life because things are very wrong. You've been treated wrongly. You're not in the right relationships. You're not in the right job. Whatever the situation, I'm very aware that there are those situations that there's a discontent, there's an unhappiness because you are not being treated well. So whatever your reason is for this reinvention, for this dissatisfaction and discontentment that happens in your late 40s, 50s and 60s, I think whatever the reason is for you to kind of wake up, to kind of realize the version of the life you're living is not what you really want. It's not what God created for you or meant for you. Whatever the reason is, I think it is okay. And it's okay to look at it. It's okay to examine ourselves and to really see what's going on. Because I do believe in this second act of our lives. As a hitting your late 40s and stuff, a lot of things that you've accepted in your life, a lot of things that have happened, maybe it's time for us to let go. I think this is when we do a lot of shedding. We are in that space. I think the thing I love the most about approaching 50, I'm 48 right now, is that you really don't care about what people think, right? I don't care about people's opinions. You have become established in yourself. You know who you are. You know what you want. You know what you don't want. And for me, I feel like this is the stage that I'm really concerned and looking to see what is it that God actually wants for me. Because I have lived this life as a Christian, yes, but I'm really seeking to know what is the next season look like. As my children are growing up and my daughter is almost going to college, it's looking like, what does that next season look like? And I think that's where this discontent comes from, because you are shifting seasons, and I believe in every woman there are seasons, right? There are seasons that we all go through. So the letting go, the shedding, that kind of begins to happen in this stage of our lives. We begin to shed friendships, we begin to shed careers, businesses, relationships. We're kind of emerging into something else, but it requires, before you can even walk into that new season, it requires that you let go. That we let go of even the responsibilities and the burdens we've carried, the mental load we've carried, the taking care of people we've done in our lives. Not that there's anything wrong with that. You want to take care of your family, your kids, your marriage, your relationships, your relatives, your aging parents. That is all noble and that is worthwhile doing. But I think in that process, we get lost. Our identity gets lost. We don't know who we are anymore. And until we are willing to let go of the roles that we've played, the person we've become for other people, it's very hard for us to find ourselves. So the first act, I would say, in this season of moving into this second act, of moving into this reinvention, is to let go. Let go of the old. Let go of the relationships that may not be right for you in this season. Let go of the career. Let go of the business. And, I'm not saying just go out there and quit your job or stop your business. No. But if you're feeling this thing inside of you that it is time to move forward to the next thing, it is time to let go of the past, then I think that is God saying something to you. And we need to kind of pay attention to that. So once we have done our shedding, our letting go, I think the next thing that comes is reclaiming, where we begin to reclaim who we were meant to be, who we are, not what we were told we were supposed to be, not who people expected us to be, not who even what we thought we should be. Because a lot of times it's the things that we put on ourselves that makes us, we do all these things, not necessarily because other people have said anything, but we feel an expectation, maybe from society, from family, whatever, and we are doing all these things. So we need to then reclaim ourselves, reclaim the desires, the hopes, the things the hobbies. So for myself, I realize in the hustle of building a life and building a business and doing all these things and raising children, I'm like, I don't even know my hobbies anymore. I used to have hobbies. I used to do a lot of things. But because life has been so busy and you've been a caretaker, caregiver, been building a life, you tend to forget even what you like or enjoy. And you talk to a lot of women, and I've talked to a lot of women in some of my coaching programs, and I've heard like people don't even know what they like. Right? If you ask them, what do you want? What do you enjoy doing? A lot of women don't even know what that is anymore. They have to really kind of go back and rediscover that, reclaim that, because you bury all those things, your hobbies, your desires, your likes, because you are trying to raise a family. You are trying to climb this corporate ladder. You are trying to build this business that you yourself, you get forgotten. You forget yourself. So in that reclaiming process, we are reclaiming our creativity, who we are, the things that we enjoy. And sometimes it's rediscovering those things because we have forgotten or even don't know what it is. So we need to kind of rediscover that. And then comes the next part of rebuilding, where we want to rebuild the version of life that we want, that is in alignment with what God actually wants for us, and where you get to define what success means for you, right? Because I think in different seasons, success means different things to different people. And you can look at your life as a woman, as a mom, if you're one, and compare yourself to a guy who's single, who's building a business. So even if you might be building a business, you're not in the same season as that single guy who is building a season with no commitment whatsoever. So understanding that as we're rebuilding this life, what season am I in? And what does that look like? And what does my life look like? If I'm going to rebuild, what do I want it to look like in every season? Right? So there are seasons we are going through. In your 20s, that was a season. In your 30s, that was a season. When you have children, that is a season. When the children are young and small and running around the house, that is a season. Right? And sometimes women have to stay at home and take care of the kids and not be working full time. That is itself is a season. So understanding the season you're in and then rebuilding from what do you want this season to look like? What does God say your season should look like? Right? For me, I'm in a season at this moment where spending time with my kids, especially my daughter who will be leaving for college soon, is very important to me. It's a priority. But this is the season that I'm in. And that also means that there are going to be sacrifices I have to make. How do I build my business in this season where I'm also trying to be very present for my daughter and doing a lot of things with her? What does that look like? What am I willing to forgo? What am I willing to kind of put aside in this season if this is a priority for me? So in this rebuilding, my advice to you is know the season you're in so you build it right. So you build whatever you're rebuilding of your life, reclaiming, you do it in the right way because you understand the season you're in. You're also seeking God and asking, what is important to God in this season? Because a lot of times we also have our own ambitions and our own things that we think are priority. But sometimes that might not be the priority or what we should actually prioritize. So what happens in this process of the reinvention, which is pretty cool and as scary as it might be, because sometimes it requires you living the comfortable life or job or career or business and starting something totally new. But what I think is the most exciting for me has been rediscovering myself and saying to myself, I'm no longer going to make myself small to make other people feel comfortable, because I found myself having done that in my past, right? I left a building, a business and started into a whole new industry, and that was scary. Going into AI consultants that I'm doing now, that was a very scary thing after being in construction for 20 years. But that is a part of the reinvention. Learning new skills, learning new hobbies. I'm taking on new hobbies now because I am trying to discover what is it that I actually like to do. I love to travel. That hasn't changed. But what other things do I like to do? I want to learn new languages. I want to learn to paint. These are all things that in this reclaiming I want to do. What is it that you want to do in this second act of your life? Are you going to be kind to yourself, where we don't criticize our bodies and how we look and the shape and the weight and this, and we are more kind to ourselves. We are no longer shrinking to make others around us feel better about themselves, right? We can live life without apologizing. Like, we're not going to apologize for who we are. I'm not going to apologize for where I am in this season. I'm not going to apologize for my desires and the things that I want to do just so I could accommodate other people. So where are you in this journey? Are you just starting up? And doing this is not you being selfish, because I think this is what a lot of us tend to believe, that we are being selfish when we do this. I think it's a very important inner work that every woman, especially in your late 40s going to 50, 60, need to do. Because if you don't, this is, I feel like, part of the growing up, right? Like, we grow up from being kids to teenagers to our young adults. I also think this is a very important part of you growing up in that stage, in that second act, in your late 40s and beyond. So you are not being selfish as you're approaching this stage, as you're going through the emotions you're going through. Your body's changing, things are changing, your kids are growing up. If you have kids, you might be changing careers, starting a new business, learning new skills. Like, there are all these changes, and it's not being selfish. I think it's simply being awake to yourself and to your needs and your desires, and acknowledging that you actually matter, despite what everybody else might have said, or how they've treated you, or how the world has treated you, that you actually matter. And as you're getting older, it is not a death sentence. It is actually a good thing. You are more mature, you're wiser, you know yourself. And I just say it is time to let that shine. It is time to be less apologetic. Actually, you shouldn't be. You should not apologize for who you are or who you are discovering. Even if you don't know who you are yet, in the process of discovering that, you don't have to apologize to anyone. You owe no one an apology for who you're becoming. So we'll talk next time. Thank you for watching. Bye.